Hey folks, Wayne Jennings here with another little action camera I'm going to review. This is the iZEEKER iA800. It's a reasonably priced little action camera with a lot of unique features. For instance, it's waterproof just as it is, without a housing, down to a depth of 5 meters, that's about 16 feet. It has dual display screens, which is great for getting selfie shots. And one feature that kind of stands out from others is that this camera claims to shoot video in resolutions up to 6K. You heard me right, 6K video. Now, mind you, that's an interpolated video, so quality-wise, I'm not sure until we go and test it. So let's do that right now. Let's head on out and check out this little camera. This little camera features a wide-angle lens covering a 160-degree field of view. Behind that lens sits a Sony IMX386 image sensor, and those images are processed using an Ambarella H22-S75 CPU. You can capture video in resolutions of 720, 1080, 1440, 2.7K, 4K, and even 6K. Still photos can be captured in sizes ranging from 3 up to 24 megapixels. This camera kit is supplied with all the accessories shown here. Now, the camera itself is waterproof down to a depth of 5 meters, that's 16 feet. But if you want to go deeper, just use the included housing, which is rated to a depth of 40 meters, that's 131 feet. You get a camera cage for mounting the camera and a nice selection of mounting hardware, including tripod adapters. There are also 2 quick-release base plates and extra adhesive tape. You get 2 rechargeable lithium-ion batteries rated at 1,350 milliamp hours, and there's a USB Type-C charging cable for in-camera charging. But you also get this external dual-slot battery charger with its own USB micro cable. It comes with a selection of mounting straps, quick ties, and a metal lanyard. There is a 2-button remote control, and there is a user manual, a quick start guide, and a lens cleaning cloth. One of the best features with the iZEEKER camera is the fact that it's waterproof without a housing. So, in winter conditions like this, where I'm out doing some snowshoeing, if I happen to drop the camera in the snow or it starts snowing, it doesn't really matter. The camera's going to keep on working. Now, it's also great when you're in and around the water. I just got back from a vacation down south, and it was perfect down there. I shot a whole bunch of video. What I've done is I've edited together a sequence showing different resolutions. So check this out, and you can see for yourself what kind of quality video you get with this little camera. The iZEEKER camera is very rugged looking. It feels good and solid in your hands. The front, of course, has this view screen on one side, and then the other side is the lens. This lens has a removable filter that just unthreads. It's just a clear glass element to protect the lens. I suppose if you could find them small enough, you could put some kind of a gel or filter in there for doing special effects. But that just threads on and off. On the bottom of the camera, it's sad to see there is no 1/4-inch tripod socket. In my opinion, I think every camera should have a built-in tripod socket. It makes it so much easier to attach it to things like a monopod or a selfie stick. However, this camera does come with this cage, which the camera then slides into, and then you can use the mount on the bottom to attach it to the included mounts, or adapter like this, which slides on the bottom, and then you can put it on a regular tripod. The other cool thing, there's this cold shoe on the top, so if you have something like a video light here, you could just slide that on, and then you've got a little light to use. That's kind of a neat little feature to have. Now, the actual cage itself, the camera stays in there pretty well. It doesn't really move, but if you want, there's this piece on the back that can slide in and snap into place just to lock it in. I find taking the camera out of the cage can be a little tricky because you don't want to push it with your thumb and get a fingerprint on there, so you just have to be careful the way you ease it out there. Looking on the bottom of the camera, we'll see there's a big door here behind which is the battery and the micro SD card. To open it, you push the button and slide, and it's almost a two-hand operation. It's pretty stiff. You got to kind of push that button and slide it. I find you just kind of work it like that. There's a metal hinge down there. But the reason it's stiff and hard to open is because there's this big rubber gasket on the bottom, and that's designed to keep it watertight. We'll just close that up, and on this side, we have a power button and a mode button. On the far side, we have another little door behind which you'll find a HDMI output and a USB-C input for charging. There's a little speaker beside here. On the top of the camera, we have a tiny little microphone and our shutter release button. Now I'll just turn it on and show you the screen. Just push this button here. Just hold it for a second, and the splash screen should open up here. There we go. And it is a touch screen, fairly easy to use, whether in photo or video mode. Right now I'm in video mode. If I hit that little icon, it shows the various video settings: normal, time-lapse, slow motion, quick stories, diving mode, photo video simultaneously. Or if you hit the photo button, it shows you these selections for the photo mode, like time-lapse, self-timer, burst photo, long exposure. You can shoot raw photos. Let's go back to video and go back to the main screen. And on the bottom here, it shows you the resolution. If you hit that, it will open the menu. It's a pretty extensive menu for an automatic camera. Of course, resolution, if you hit that, you can scroll through, set the resolution. You can set the time segments. You can shoot 1, 2, 3, 5-minute segments. Turn the audio on or off. You can change the video encoder, H.264 or H.265. You can change exposure up and down in half-stop increments. This is kind of neat. Most of these cameras, they're completely automatic, but this one, you can actually adjust the shutter speed. You go in there, you can actually pick the shutter speed you want, set it on, and lock it in. That's a nice feature to see. There's a lens distortion control you can turn on or off. There's a gyroscope for the lens to steady the image. You can change the metering mode, set the ISO, the white balance, sharpness, image quality, special effects filter. So it's pretty extensive. We'll just get out of that. There's also a sub-menu here. If you hit that, different things like turning the Wi-Fi on or off, auto power off. You can set the language, the frequency, voice control, voice volume. This does not have voice control. There's this thing called reverse mode, which actually should say flip mode. It actually turns the image upside down. If the camera's hanging upside down, it doesn't run the video in reverse. So that's a little misleading. But you can put a date stamp, you can change different sounds that the camera makes and format the SD card, things like that. And you can, you can turn a grid on or off, which just helps you to compose your shots. Now the other thing, of course, about this camera is it has a view screen on the front. And to get to that, you push and hold this mode button. You just kind of push that for a second or two, and the image flips from the back to the front, which is a great way if you're setting up a shot with you in it. You want to see how much headroom you have or what's behind you, something you want to frame up behind you there. That is a great way for doing selfies, or if you're doing a kind of video chat where you're talking about something and you want to see what's behind you. This camera does a great job recording time-lapse sequences. You can record a frame of video every half, 1, 2, 5, 10, 30, or 60 seconds. The still photos I took looked clean and sharp to my eye. Images can be captured in sizes from 3 all the way up to 24 megapixels. Photo settings include a self-timer, burst photos, long exposures, and raw capture. Okay, here's a little audio test with this camera. Now right now I'm using this. It's a digital audio recorder with a plug-in microphone. I use this on all my productions to get good quality sound. So what you're hearing is what good sound should sound like. In a moment I'm going to stop this, then you hear my voice as the camera picks it up. I'm not far away, about arm's length. So let's just stop this right now. Okay, that stopped, and now you're hearing my voice as the camera picks it up. Now, I have to yell in order for you to hear me. I'm only at arm's length, but the audio is so low, I have to raise my voice. I mean, you know, if I get close, the little microphone will pick me up, but I shouldn't have to get that close. To get good sound, don't rely on the camera. Use something like this, or you have to boost it later when you're editing. Some of the adjustments available on this camera include white balance, which can be left on auto or set to daylight, cloudy, tungsten, or fluorescent. The ISO can be left on auto or set to 100, 200, 400, 800, or 1600 ISO. And there is an exposure setting which allows you to increase or decrease exposure by up to 3 stops in half-stop increments. You could also change the metering mode between center, average, and spot. This camera has an image stabilizer. That's turned off right now. I'm just walking through this snowy trail here, stepping over some logs. I'll turn it around. There's a shot going forward with the image stabilizer turned off. So what I'll do is I'll go back, retrace my steps with the image stabilizer turned on, and you can compare the two shots. Okay, so I'm going to do the same shot with the image stabilizer turned on. Now this camera has 2 levels of image stabilizer, the regular and what they call Super EIS. So I've got the Super EIS turned on right now, walking over the same terrain here. Just going to step over this log like I did before, and we'll just turn the camera around. There's that same shot walking forward with the image stabilizer turned on, and back to me. So you can see it definitely tends to smooth out these kind of walking shots. Now there are 2 ways to operate this camera remotely. The first is using the included remote control. There are 2 buttons on here. If you push this white one, this red LED lights up. The camera begins recording video. Push it again and it stops. If you want to take a still picture, you push this red button. Again, the red LED lights up. The camera switches to photo mode and snaps a picture. And the other method to operate your camera remotely is to download the app. It's called U2 Pro. And as you can see, the image on my phone is the same image the camera sees. If I rotate my phone sideways, I get a nice big image, so it's easy to monitor. The advantage here is there are a lot more settings on this phone app. If I hit this gear icon, it opens up a list that I can scroll through, things like resolution, exposure, white balance, ISO, things like that. You just find the thing you want to change, hit the button, and then you can scroll through that menu and make the changes. Then when you're all set, go back to the main menu, hit the record button, and now the video shows the counter going up there. The video is now recording, You can also playback images. If you hit this little button down here, it loads all the images from the memory card into your phone. You just find the one you want, push the button, and then the image comes up, and then you can watch it. There are several slow motion settings on this camera. This first scene was shot at 720 at 120 frames per second. This scene was also shot at 720, but this one was recorded at 240 frames per second. And here we have the 1080 resolution shot at 120 frames per second. Well, I've been using this camera for a couple months now, and overall it shoots really good video, but it does have a few drawbacks. Number one being the audio. I mean, what can I say? It's pretty bad. It's very, very low. Unless you get really close to it, you know, if you're behind it and you're talking, it's pretty good. But man, you hold that like a meter away from you and the sound quality is really, really low, which means you got to boost it in editing. So that's a bit of a drawback. The other thing that disappoints me is the fact there's no tripod socket on this camera. So you have to use this frame, which is okay. But in order to lock it in this frame, there's this little piece that slides on the back, slide it in. But when that's in, it makes it hard to navigate the touchscreen. You can't kind of get at the little icons on the bottom. So you got to slide it out to do that. So, you know, that would be eliminated if there was a tripod socket on there. Really, really simple. The other thing is that the slow motion, yeah, it does slow motion, but don't think the 720 is very sharp. I'd stick with the 1080 if you want slow motion from this camera. And overall, video quality, all the other video quality is great. 1080, 2.7, 4K, they all look great. The 6K, that really surprised me. It's interpolated video and it looks really, really good. It's not perfect. There are a few little tiny bits of degradation in the corners and a little bit of video noise. But other than that, you know, I think the 6K thing is a bit of a gimmick. Stick to 4K, 2.7K, or 1080, and you'll do fine. And as far as the audio, you know, expect low audio unless you use a separate digital recorder like I tend to do.